can also access this meeting via WebEx technology. The Burlington School Committee will hear public comments in person and virtually. Meetings are also broadcast live on Burlington Cable Access TV, BCAT, and video audio recordings are being made. This meeting of the Burlington School Committee is held in person at this building in the school committee room at the Burlington High School. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. And please note that while an option for remote attendance or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. If you want to join us, the other way to join is by meeting number 2330-165-9873, and the meeting password is Tuesday. I would like to now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just want to make sure this. Okay.
Pardon, you're going to read the equity statement.
Good evening, everyone. As always, we read the equity statement of the Burlington School Committee and School Department at the beginning of our meetings, and I will add a few comments after that. The Burlington School Committee supports our LGBTQ plus, no, that's not the first part. Here we go. The first part that's been in all the meetings. Educational equity means that every child belongs and receives whatever support he, she, they need to develop his, her, their full academic, emotional, and social potential to learn and thrive every day. This begins with kindness and valuing the humanity of every child or individual. The Burlington School Committee supports our LGBTQ+ students, staff, families, and community members. We regret there have been recent incidents in the middle school which have been painful to the LGBTQ+ community, as well as incidents targeting other groups through anti-Semitism and racism. The Burlington Public Schools are focused on the students and making sure that all perspectives are welcome and all students feel like they belong. The Marshall Simons Middle School held a Pride Theme Day on June 2nd to support the LGBTQ+ community. It is an established practice at the school to hold these days to celebrate student life, hold theme days to celebrate student life. Unfortunately, during the Pride Theme Day, there were behaviors that were hurtful to students and the school community. We are now involved in a healing process. We do not think that there are hateful middle school students. Students at this age are finding their voices, or changing their voices, or challenging adult voices. Middle school should be a safe place for all students to express themselves, to make mistakes, and to learn from each other. We have provided support to students and staff who were negatively affected and administered consequences for behavior that is against our policies. The school met with the entire student body in classroom-based groups to educate them about how their behaviors affect others, to take responsibility for their behaviors, and to help us become a more inclusive community where all of us feel that we belong. Although we do not publicize every aspect of the school's response, the middle school dedicated significant time last week to proceed with students to help them better understand how their words and behaviors impact others. Burlington is a community made up of many different people and groups. Diversity is one of our strengths. We are doing our best to help our students learn to communicate, empathize, and care for one another across differences and to embrace our many commonalities. Dr. Conti has something he'd like to say as well. Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. I'm disappointed in the behavior of some middle school students during the events organized by the Middle School Spectrum Club recognizing Pride Month. But I want to remind everybody that these are middle school-aged children, and many, if not most, behaved appropriately. And while consequences are sometimes appropriate, it is the follow-up conversations that are most important with students of this age. As I stated in my community message, like any Spirit Day celebration, participation is optional. Respectful behavior across the entire student body, however, is non-negotiable. In response to the June 2nd event at the middle school, I've received various kinds of communications, including requests to quickly hire a DEI director. The need for a DEI director and the middle school incident from June 2nd are related but not causal. Middle school-age children reflect what they see adults do without thinking about the consequences of their actions. Ascribing hate to middle school children who are not yet fully developed, I think, is a mistake. My top priority in filling the DEI director position is thoughtful development and not hasty repetition. As I have stated publicly, I think it was important to hire an assistant superintendent first. Dr. Lisa Chen joins my team on July 1st. Welcome, Lisa. She will quickly get to know Burlington. Our equity audit will be completed in several weeks. The district will be working with a DEI coach from William James College, and I will also continue to work with my DEI coach on prioritizing the findings of the audit and addressing a concrete path forward. We will shape the DEI job posting around these priorities. Those of us paying attention to DEI efforts around the state and country should appreciate this approach in light of the backlash against DEI efforts occurring everywhere. Burlington is not immune to the divisive and polarized political climate of the country. Many adults are siloed in regards to their culture, religion, and personal history. Public schools, however, are not siloed by design. Our schools have become the places where all perspectives, religions, cultures, and personal identities come together. Most of our students, your children, experience more diversity every day than the rest of us. Learning to collaborate across these differences is a critical skill in the world your children will be living and working in as adults. I don't want public education to back away from promoting tolerance and inclusivity or its critical role in protecting our democracy. At our next school committee meeting, I will speak more completely about the district's DEI efforts in September, but for this evening, I want to state unequivocally that here in Burlington Public Schools, we are committed to tolerance and inclusivity for all, and that includes our LGBTQ+ students. We are committed to working hard so that all students feel safe and supported so that they can reach the depth and breadth of their abilities. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Conti. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the warrant. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye. That's 5-0-0. Thank you. The next item is the approval of the meeting minutes from May 23rd. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye. That's 5-0-0. Thank you. The next item is public participation. We will be taking public participation from in person as well as online. And I want to remind people that this is a business meeting of the school committee. We welcome your input and comments. However, our public participation policy allows for 3 minutes speaking time so that we can continue with our meeting. Public comments should be addressed to the chair. So is there someone who would like to speak at this time? So if, is that Carrie Lynn? Is that your name? Come on up, please. Thank you for, oh.
May have his hand up first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I wasn't going by the sign-in list, but would people, I'm not sure everyone who signed in wants to speak, so I will be sure that we get to people who want to speak, okay, and I'm sure you'll let me know if I missed somebody, okay? Thank you. And so what I'd like is for you to state your name and
this
and
mic
then
right
make your
here,
comments.
so
Thank you.
The school committee and others in the crowd can hear you, so.
Awesome.
Yeah. And speak real close to the mic so people online can hear you. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Hello, my name is Nate Carey, and I'm here to speak on the events that happened at the middle school recently. I'm here to let you know that this was not a one-off incident. Homophobia has been a pressing issue throughout the BHS school system and the town of Burlington as a whole for a while now. Although we do have a large LGBTQ population and many allies who I really want to acknowledge and thank, we cannot ignore the growing hate for our community in this town. When I was a student at MSMS, I was called a faggot almost daily every morning on the bus to school, along with many of my peers. Bringing this up to administration, we were told that there was nothing they could do, as none of us had any proof, even though multiple students had come forward about this. That student, due to lack of consequences, still uses this hateful word to this day. When I was in 6th grade and misspelled the country Lisbon as lesbian, I was told to stay after class and was scalded for bringing something extremely inappropriate to a classroom. Just last year, when the GSA at Burlington High School was giving out stickers to show pride, many were taken and ripped up in the halls. Hearing homophobic language is a casual occurrence. At our town Pride Day, we have not been allowed to fly our flag because there is a group protesting it. In a world where we are surrounded by hate, I am simply requesting that students are supported in a place where growth and self-discovery is supposed to be promoted. Showing support for the LGBTQ community is essential, especially for young people to feel accepted as they grow. I really want to thank the GSA leaders of both the middle and high school, as well as many teachers who have been extremely supportive of the LGBTQ community. Although acceptance in our community has grown immensely, it's important to continue this support and help students feel safe and accepted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would you like to come up? Carrie Lynn, thank you. Thank you for all you do for the community as well.
Thank you so much. If I cry, please forgive me. It's been a very emotional time in my life. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My daughter attended Burlington schools from preschool, and she just graduated the high school last weekend. Thank you so much. I chose this shirt because it's very appropriate for sort of the experience that we had. My daughter was raised in a home where she was taught love, kindness, and acceptance. At the age of 6, she came out to me as straight because she didn't know that just gay people did that. And then when she was 10, she came out to me as cisgendered because, again, she didn't realize that that was something special for queer people to do. Something changed, though, when she got into the middle school. When I started dating a transgendered man, my daughter started to show signs of discomfort about my being queer. She stated that she had asked, that I not display anything rainbow that was visible from the outside. So that included lawn signs or flags or bumper stickers or anything that gave away my queer identity. I was surprised by this, as this was a child who came out thinking that the world is just like that. And I asked her what was going on, and she expressed to me that homophobia was rampant in the middle school, and she didn't want anyone to know that her mom was gay. She was afraid we would be targeted and put in danger, and she was afraid no one would want to be her friend. Needless to say, I was heartbroken and devastated to see my once open-minded, fearless child was now fearful and ashamed of her own mother's identity. Despite the fact that this fierce advocate for equality and social justice has raised her to be 100% accepting of others, her peers were more influential on her than I could be. By the time my boyfriend moved into our Burlington home, my daughter was older, and although she was still not supportive of our outward displays of queerness because of the homophobia she witnessed at school, we all agreed that she was old enough and secure enough in her friendships that Leo and I were allowed to put up a rainbow flag in our window. From there, Leo and I began to advocate for the LGBTQIA+ community in our town. We started a Pride celebration, as many of you know, and that has been a joyful event for the past 3 years. But I want to let you all know that my daughter has not once attended that event, and that is because of the lessons she learned through the Burlington public school system, and that is heartbreaking for me, as you can imagine. And although she's no longer part of the school system, and I've been berated for being thankful for that, I want to say that we need to do better for our children, and we need to do better for our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Go ahead. Yes, if you could state your name at the beginning, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Michelle Wexelblatt. I'm a clinical social worker, and I work with the LGBTQIA+ community, most specifically working with transgender teens, but in general, the whole community. I've come here to present, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but the Trevor Project's 22 national survey on LGBTQIA youth mental health. I presented this information last year, June last year, to the Select Board when we wound up having pushback around having pride visibility within our town. Here we are a year later, in a place that is worse than we were last year. The key findings: 45% of LGBTQIA youth seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year. LGBTQ youth who felt high social support from their family reported attempting suicide at less than half the rate of those who felt low or moderate support. Fewer than 1 in 3 transgender and non-binary youth found their home to be gender affirming. LGBTQ youth who found their school to be LGBTQIA+ affirming reported lower rates of attempting suicide. 60% of youth who wanted mental health care in the past year were not able to get it. Youth who live in a community that is accepting of LGBTQIA people reported significantly lower rates of attempting suicide than those who do not. The rate for LGBTQIA youth in general is 45%. For those who are trans, it is 52%. For those who are gender non-binary, it is 54%. It goes up with each marginal identity that they contain. The national rate is 8% for youth. Their research shows there's one thing that people can do that will drop this rate from over 50% down to the national average of 8%, and that's acceptance. That's it. Simple acceptance. This starts at the top down. This starts from our leaders within the town. This starts from every head of family. This starts from every principal in every school. Every place that we interact with the youth, it has to start from there to bring this rate down to the national average of 8%. Acceptance. Why is acceptance so hard? Why, after a year when the Select Board had this information in hand, that more was not done? As you heard from the students, as you heard from Carrie, I'm also a parent in this community. I have raised 2 students in this community who ran into very similar issues, who went through the middle school not knowing that there was a GSA in the school for their entire time there, did not know there was support at all for them in the school, who both left Burlington for high school because they did not feel safe here.
So I'm going to point out it's 3 minutes if you can wrap up. But
That's it.
That's okay. Thank you so much.
If you would like this research, I'm happy to leave it for the committee.
If you have a copy, we'd be happy to have it. Thank you. Thank you. Is there someone else who would like to speak? Yes, please come on up. Did you sign this? Yes, you were here early, I remember now. And if you could please start with your name, that'd be great. Thank you.
My name is James Robert Sparks. I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force, and my pronouns are he and him. I served from 2004 in direct support of Operation Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom after the 9/11 attacks. I'm a third-generation veteran. My grandfather, my father, my brother, all have served as airmen in the United States Air Force. I rarely use my veteran status to distinguish myself. I'm here today because I learned about an incident that occurred at Marshall Simons on June 2nd. It deeply offended me as a veteran. I want to address the important issue that touches this community and hits very close to the chest. The misuse of Memorial Day and patriotism as weapons against anyone that is different. Memorial Day is a solemn occasion that serves to honor and remember the brave men and women who sacrificed their lives in service to our country. It's a time for reflection, time for gratitude and unity. Many choose this occasion to celebrate those who made it back home with a barbecue or a cookout. I have mixed emotions, for I came home. Many did not. However, recently, we've witnessed a troubling event, a distortion of Memorial Day and patriotism, turning them into tools of division rather than unity. Instead of fostering a sense of togetherness, they're being used as weapons to pit communities against each other, deepening the existing divides in our society and community. The fact that this has happened in the middle school by school-aged children is especially disturbing, because it means these misguided ideas are being taught in the home by the adults in the room. We are all responsible for setting the example. Let us remember the essence of Memorial Day lies in honoring the sacrifice and selflessness of our fallen heroes, irrespective of their race, religion, ethnicity, or sexual orientation, or gender identity. They fought and died side by side, united by a common purpose, the defense of our shared values and freedoms. Patriotism at its core should not be exclusive or exclusionary. True patriotism is inclusive of all American people and recognizes the diversity that makes our nation strong. Our country's strength lies in the ability to appreciate and embrace different perspectives and backgrounds. By weaponizing patriotism, we undermine the very values we claim to hold dear: equality, freedom, and justice for all. I'm disappointed in some of this community today. This is not what we fought and sacrificed for. So I am addressing you all, the adults in the room, to reevaluate the policies of this body, to do better, to embrace acceptance of all expressions, regardless of their nature. It's time to reject the intolerance perpetuated by bullies and ignorance.
I'm sorry.
We must create an environment where diversity is not just tolerated, but celebrated. In conclusion,
Thank you.
let us not allow Memorial Day or patriotism to be used as weapons against our neighbors, classmates, educators, who are all fellow Americans. Instead, let us embrace the true spirit of these ideals by fostering unity, empathy, and respect. Only then can we honor the legacy of our fallen heroes, my friends, myself, and only then can we build a future worthy of their sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Nikki, is there somebody with a hand raised online also? That'll be next. I'll call on somebody online.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
And if you could give your name for people who don't know you.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Nikki Cadillac. I am here as a voter and town meeting member in Precinct 6, the parent to a student at Marshall Simons Middle School, a student at Fox Hill, and a 3-year-old who will be in the Burlington Public Schools as well. An educator and a concerned member of the Burlington community. I am troubled by the events that took place at Marshall Simons Middle School on Friday, June 2nd, and I believe several incorrect and harmful dichotomies were made on that day that I would like to illuminate. Using the American flag as an instrument of protest against a joyful expression of identity sends the message that it is somehow un-American to be a member of or an ally to the LGBTQ community. This effectively turns the American flag, a symbol that is supposed to stand for every American, into a weapon against a marginalized community, a source of division rather than unity. The same can be said for using police colors and the thin blue line flag. This false dichotomy pits the queer community and the police against each other, which is not what we need. The LGBTQ community has historically been told that they have to choose. They have to choose between their identities and their church, or their identities and their family, or they have to hide a part of who they are in order to be accepted. Now the flag is being used to suggest another choice needs to be made between their identity and their country. That's not fair, and it's not fair to little kids. Giving airtime to the idea that it is somehow okay to protest the lack of celebrating Memorial Day, which, by the way, is nationally celebrated with a day off school and locally celebrated with a ceremony at Chestnut Hill Cemetery, sends a message that it is okay to victimize a marginalized group because you're angry about something unrelated. Those two are completely disconnected from one another. While some might say these disruptions were not intended to denigrate or diminish the experiences of queer individuals within the school, this was the impact all the same. While I wish it had come earlier, I found Ms. Purchase's statement very thoughtful, and it addressed almost every concern I had. However, the letter made no mention of consequences for or apologies from students who harmed the school community. And as an educator, I'm going off script, I know how difficult it is to repair that harm once it's been done. I'm aware specific consequences can't be discussed, and I also understand this is a learning experience for kids, but learning and consequences can happen in tandem, and I heard you, Ms. Simon, when you mentioned earlier that, that consequences were administered, and so I'll have to take you at your word. But I do want to say that in the communication up until now, excuse me, oh my gosh, the absence of consequences sends a message to teachers that they're not supported, to students that they're not valued equally, and to parents that we cannot trust that our children can go to school without being harassed, demeaned, or belittled in an environment that claims to value diversity and inclusivity. This incident and the school and district's response underscore the need for a DEI director in this district. And I also heard you, Dr. Conti, earlier when you mentioned that the priority was hiring an assistant superintendent. We really need that director of DEI.
And it is 3 minutes if you could wrap up. Thank you.
I'm almost done. While I'm not saying that this incident would have not occurred if we had filled the DEI director position earlier, I truly believe that a person in that role could have spearheaded a response that centered on healing the harm that was done, issuing appropriate consequences, and leaving the community stronger. And this is my hope for the future of MSMS and Burlington Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is Trina Portillo on? Yes. I'd like to call on Trina Portillo, please. If you could introduce yourself also, Trina. Thank you. And who you're representing.
Thank you. My name is Trina Portillo. I'm the pastor at the Presbyterian Church in Burlington. And I bring a statement on behalf of myself and some of my clergy colleagues in town. As leaders of faith communities in Burlington, we support the students in Spectrum and other members of the middle school community who celebrated Pride Spirit Day on Friday, June 2nd. We affirm the inherent worth of all people, inclusive of their gender identities and sexualities. We believe that schools should be a space where all children and youth are safe and protected from discrimination and harm. But queer and trans youth are especially vulnerable. Queer pride and national pride are not in conflict with one another, and we should not conflate the two issues. Freedom of speech is the right of all Americans and should be respected, not used as a tool to discriminate against others. Therefore, we encourage the school board and administration to do everything in your power to create a culture of inclusion and acceptance throughout Burlington schools through the full support and empowerment of the DEI director position, developing curriculum that teaches the history and significance of Pride Month and other opportunities to celebrate diversity throughout the year, and to urge the select board to reinstate the DEI subcommittee to continue the important work that was begun with the report submitted last year. We stand in solidarity, and we want students and families in Burlington to know that there are local clergy and faith communities that are affirming and welcoming to the LGBTQ+ community, and we are here to support you in any way we can. The signees of this statement are myself of the Presbyterian Church in Burlington, Rabbi Susan Abramson, Temple Shalom Ameth, Reverend Ed Coons of the United Church of Christ Burlington, Chase DiMaggio, Ranjani Segal, Executive Director of the Ekal Vidyala Foundation of USA, and the Reverend Daniel Bell, Priest in Charge of St. Mark's Episcopal Church. And on a personal note, I do not live in the town of Burlington, but I am the parent of a 6th grader who identifies as a member of the queer community, and so I feel a personal level of investment in ensuring that all the children and youth in Burlington feel safe and accepted in their schools and in their community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see Amanda has a hand up. Yeah. Amanda, if you could turn on your camera and give us your full name, that would be helpful. Are you there? Okay, thank you.
Sorry, does everybody see me?
Yes, thank you.
It's short and sweet. My name is Amanda Liskowski, and I am a town meeting member as well as a parent of a 1st grader at Fox Hill and 2 future Burlington public students. And I just want to stand in solidarity with the previous speakers as well as all of the members of the queer community, students and staff that were harmed by this incident, and urge the district to make the #1 priority, besides repairing the harm that was done to the community, to hire as quickly as possible a new DEI director in order to help have this not ever happen again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd like to see if there's someone in a green shirt there. Want to come on up?
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Sarah Colley, mom to 4 kids in the Burlington school system, 1 at Marshall Simons. First, to the teachers and staff of Marshall Simons, I want to thank you for all that they do to create a safe and inclusive environment all year round for our kids. My heart goes out to them, especially right now, dealing with all this. To the kids and staff who are affected by the hurtful behavior that Friday, please know you have so many supporters and allies in this town. We're here for you, we see you, and we love you. In general, I like to give middle school aged kids a lot of benefit of the doubt when it comes to behavior. It's a tough time. They tend to make poor decisions and push social boundaries. I truly believe that some of these kids were just following along with their friends and did not realize the hurtful implications of their actions. It's not an excuse. It's unfortunate and wrong, and hopefully it led to some constructive and necessary conversations at home. To the parents who might not be having those conversations and who are doubling down, justifying acts of intolerance by saying that pride is being shoved down their kids' throats or their kids feel ashamed for being straight. Queer kids have had heteronormativity and gender norms shoved down their throats since they were born. It's now finally socially acceptable at a time when these kids are figuring out who they are, wanting to express themselves outwardly and to be in an environment of acceptance. And you're basically telling them, we don't care, just shut up about it. It's not fair, it's hurtful, and it sends a message that they are less than, a message heard and echoed by your own kids. It's so important that queer kids know that they matter and they deserve to be here just as they are. I won't throw out the statistics as we've heard them already, but we all know that LGBTQIA youth are at a substantially higher risk of self-harm and suicide. A quote taken from the Trevor Project website: LGBTQ youth are not inherently prone to suicide risk because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, but rather placed at higher risk because of how they are mistreated and stigmatized in society. Nobody forced anyone to wear a rainbow that day. Nobody's forcing anyone to be queer or shaming anyone for being straight. Doing something publicly or within your line of vision, like wearing rainbows or flying a pride flag, is not shoving it down your throat. Asking for pronouns or gender identity to be respected takes nothing away from you. The acceptance and visibility of LGBTQIA people is not being shoved down your throats, it's being normalized, finally, and thank goodness. My hope is that this can be a learning experience for a lot of people in this town and beyond. I ask the school committee to show solidarity with Burlington's LGBTQ community and allies, and I ask that you show support for and are actively involved in the hiring of a new DEI director who could do the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's someone else, I think I saw a hand, several, in the back, perhaps, if you want to come up. Anyone else that you think is next? Okay.
Good evening, and thank you for giving us all a chance to speak. My name is Kate Moon. Yeah, absolutely. My name is Kate Moon. I have a freshman in the high school. The first thing I'd like to read tonight is actually from a parent who couldn't be here because this meeting is being held during the 8th grade move-up ceremony. This letter is from Meredith Scherter Benston. As a parent of an 8th grader at Marshall Simons Middle School, I am unable to be at the school committee meeting since it is the move-up ceremony. That said, I am providing this statement to be read for me. According to a 2022 Gallup poll, at least 20% of Gen Z identify as LGBTQIA+. My child is one of them and has been out since 6th grade. I can only imagine as time moves on, this percentage will increase as the new generations refuse not to be their authentic selves. Unfortunately, what happened during Pride Day at Marshall Simons represents the section of Americans who refuse to look forward and hold on to old ideals that to be American is to deny the rights of others to merely exist and live their lives. It is sadly not unexpected, although it was shocking to see it happen in Burlington. A lot has been asked of teachers and school administrators, especially in the past few years. They have been overwhelmed by being asked to take on too many roles. In the end, they, like we, need the parents and community to do their part and to raise and protect our children. To this I say we need the DEI committee reinstated to help schools, parents, and the community to truly understand that all children deserve to be their authentic selves and that hate and bullying is not the same as free speech. We need the DEI committee to help us help these children grow into adults who can accept and celebrate diversity rather than try to bully it into submission.
Thank you.
I also brought my own statement tonight because there was another incident of racial graffiti in the middle school, which happened continuously when my son was there. I moved to Burlington with my family in 2015. We're a multiracial family, and one of the reasons we chose to move to this town was the level of diversity reflected in it. Over the past 8 years, we have met some amazing and kind people and built a life here. We have also come to realize that Burlington Public Schools are not particularly welcome to those who are different, whether it be racial differences, differences in sexual orientation or gender expression, or those with disabilities. I am holding here some of the emails that I have sent back and forth with some of you and with school administrators over the years. I'm just going to read a snippet of the first email that I sent to you back in 2016 on February 3rd. I'm writing as a new resident of Burlington and the parent of a child in Memorial Elementary School. I was looking through the school department's website trying to find any mention of diversity training, policies, or statements, and was saddened to realize that I couldn't find any. The closest thing I could find was minutes from school committee meetings that expressed an interest in developing the school's resources. My family is multiracial, and I am white, but my husband and my 7-year-old son are Korean. Since beginning 2nd grade at Memorial School, my son has had several instances of racial teasing. Told by other students he can't be American because he was born in South Korea. Being made fun of for being North Korean, which he knew was not a nice country. And that he can't be American because he's born somewhere else. He was taunted by students on the school bus for being Chinese. Ew. Another student told him that he was going to be deported. And now my son is afraid to travel out of state. Other students have been following behind the Asian American music teacher at Memorial Elementary, pulling back the corners of their eyes and singing Ching Chong, which is something that my son hears to this day in our schools. I contacted my son's teacher regarding these incidents and received a phone call back from his guidance counselor. She had already interviewed my son despite my asking her not to. In response to my concerns, my son's teacher read a book to the class about a dachshund that was written in 1937 by a white man, and that was the entirety of the response to these incidents. Given all of the wonderful and inclusive resources available today, I have to wonder whether this is the best approach.
So it's been 3 minutes. If you could wrap up, I'd appreciate it. Yes.
I will leave you with this line. I have to believe that this town and this school system can do better.
Thank you very much. I think there's someone else in the back, that they're in the way back there, who has, in the last row. Yes, if you want to. Thank you.
Hello, I'm really nervous, so my apologies if my voice wavers. My name is Jessica Dubé-Dang, and I have a kindergartner at Pine Glen and a 3-year-old who will someday soon be at Pine Glen. This is my very first time attending a school committee meeting. I'm saddened, scared, concerned, and upset about what happened at the middle school during the Pride celebration. I'm here to say that what happened is not acceptable, and it makes me question having my children in the Burlington school system. I know there is a consensus among school officials that it was not acceptable, but we need to see more. I've heard some people, no one on school officials, no school committee, but parents, saying that things like this should be kept at home, Pride celebrations. Keeping it at home tells kids that who they are should be kept secret and is shameful. And to be brutally honest, we've seen how some parents are handling it at home, as that is what is reflected in the hateful actions of some of the students participated in. I'm also very disappointed that our DEI committee and the DEI director position has not been reinstated. Given the climate in our country right now, where hateful rhetoric, laws, and demonstrations against the LGBTQIA community are taking place daily, it would be naive of us to think that what happened at the middle school won't escalate into something more tragic in the future. It isn't going to go magically away. It will get worse. In addition to hiring a new DEI director, we need to have a curriculum in school that teaches children empathy, tolerance, and acceptance. Curriculum that will show them how hate affects others and how their actions affects others. I have a feeling that many of the students that participated didn't fully understand the ramifications and meaning behind what they were doing. And I know, as Dr. Conti mentioned in the beginning, these are middle schoolers. Their brains are developing, and they really don't know what they're doing. And I think we have a responsibility to help them learn that. And to say that it just needs to be learned at home isn't enough. It's not being learned at home for all children. We need to actively address this now. It will get worse. School officials denouncing what happened is a start, but not nearly enough. As a deeply concerned parent, I'm encouraging school officials and the school committee to take action now. Show our children that you care about their physical safety and mental well-being. As it stands right now, I do not feel good about my children being in this school system. Like the person who spoke before me, I have a multiracial household, and I have a son who loves to wear dresses and barrettes in his hair and loves princesses. And even in kindergarten, he's already gotten bullied for that. And I don't want that to continue as he continues his education here in Burlington. Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. In the second row, if you would come on up. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carmela Schmosley. I have 2 children in Burlington Public School. Sorry, I'm nervous, the same as the other lady. I did have something prepared, but I just kind of changed it up. So I'm going to just talk from my heart. I do want to make sure that everyone understands that the children did wear the American colors, but they were red, white, and blue based on their group. So Marshall Simons Middle School, they have groups, red group, white group, blue group. So after talking to my daughter, who is in 6th grade, it didn't seem to be the issue that we are seeing, unfortunately. I mean, what happened, don't get me wrong, it was very unfortunate. It is unacceptable. The children worked very hard on getting the school spirit going, having flags everywhere. It's beautiful. I mean, don't get me wrong. In my household, we teach our children to be acceptable of everyone, respecting everyone. Just do what you need to do, right? So be respectful, be nice to everyone. And I would never, ever even think about having my children getting a call from school or anywhere saying that my own children did something, a vandalism, anything. When I spoke to my daughter, she said there were some posters on the ground, but she thought that they had fallen. So she had no idea what had happened until Sunday. I got the email from Dr. Purchase, and I told her what had happened, and she had no idea. So again, I understand that this was such an unfortunate thing, but we also need to understand that these are 12, 13, 14-year-old kids that have gone through so much the past 3 years. Think about it. Just put yourself in their position. Again, I'm not saying what happened was okay. It's not okay. And the children that did this should be spoken to. Whatever needs to happen, needs to happen. I mean, we do have, surveillance everywhere in the school. So we could find out who did it and talk to their parents and find out what needs to happen. So what I'm trying to say is we need to really realize, put ourselves in these kids' shoes. They've gone through to a point that they were told, if you go and see your grandma, you're going to kill her. You can't sit next to your classmate. Put your mask back on correctly, getting yelled at constantly. And when they see something like that happen, I had kids come to my house and try to vandalize my signs and my, things. And I had, their parents came and started yelling at me for telling their children to stay away from my house. You're in my lawn. They damaged, other people's homes as well. And honestly, nothing happened to them, unfortunately. I didn't call the cops or anything. But yes, it is in the household. The children have to be taught the right way from their parents. But my child did nothing wrong that day. She had no idea, and she's been getting spoken to literally every single day for something that she didn't even know even happened in school.
If you could wrap up.
Sure,
Trina,
definitely.
thank you.
All I'm asking is just put yourself in these kids' position. Yes, they do need to be, taught the right way, what needs to be right and what is wrong, and respect everyone, respect you, respect everybody. And yes, the teachers and the school needs to teach them that, but don't reprimand everyone. Not everybody did something wrong. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I think there's another hand in the middle there. Somebody else? Yes, okay.
The one on the right was been up for a while.
Okay, the one behind, the black shirt, thank you. Yeah.
You can't see us.
Well, okay, well, you got a black shirt too. Come on up, Martha.
Thank you.
We'll get to you, the other black shirt, okay. All right, hi.
Hello, thanks for having me up here. My name's Martha Duffield. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a parent of two, community member, and the co-founder of Burlington Equity Coalition with Dr. Bonacera. I have worked as a DEI practitioner in local government and in corporate settings, and I have over 40 years of lived experience as an underrepresented and often excluded American. Last night, several residents addressed the Select Board, and tonight we are here at the school committee to speak again. Unlike many of the other people who have spoken tonight and last night, I am not surprised by the incident that happened at Marshall Simons Middle School. There has been a steady drumbeat of intolerance getting louder and louder in our schools and in our town. If you do find yourself surprised, then please start paying attention now. Our leadership at the town and school level has consistently been a barrier to progress and inclusion. As a reminder, here's a quick synopsis of the failures by our school leadership in the last 2 years. 1, requiring the community to go through town meeting to get the DEI director position approved, which could have been done by the superintendent alone. 2, disbanding the district-wide equity committee, which gave teachers and parents support, allyship, and kept the focus on DEI clear for the district administration. 3, obstructing the progress and access for the DEI director when hired, and then disparaged that DEI director after he left. Lack of engagement by the superintendent with the original equity audit, and the inability of leadership to maintain the integrity of that project, and then disparaging the consultant. And then last but not least, disregard for community concerns around inclusion, such as we heard from community member Kate Moon. The loss of 3 Black American and 1 Asian American administrators within 1 year, and not replacing the DEI role immediately. A recent BCAT article from June 5th states, a teacher who asked to remain anonymous out of fears of retaliation from the community. This is an alarming statement to me. Our teachers, our frontline protectors, our educators of our students and our children are scared because the message is clear. Hate is okay in Burlington. And this hate isn't just limited to homophobia. Every year, there are swastikas in the middle school bathrooms. Black American students are called the N-word in school. Asian American students are told to go back to China, and our DEI director was threatened online. This is who we are. So the question is, what are you, the leaders, going to do about it? Are you going to continue to let the community and students bully, intimidate, and harm our most vulnerable? Or are you going to utilize the power you all asked for to start protecting and supporting them? Intolerance has become a part of our culture at large, and systems need to be put into place in order to combat this. Being kind is not enough. The following are the ways in which you as leaders can start to push back against the hate and start uplifting the values that we say we believe in. 1, reestablish the district-wide equity committee so that teachers, parents, and the future appointed DEI director will have a support system and that leaders will have accountability. 2, backfill the DEI director position for fall 2023 with community participation. 3, establish clear consequences, such as inclusion classes, detention, suspension, restorative justice, for students, teachers, or administrators who behave in intimidating or bullying behavior, with increased focus if these behaviors are rooted in bigotry. DEI work is not the work of one, but a work of the community, and it starts at the top. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't see it, so thank you. Yeah, that was. Yeah, right. You don't know. Were there other hands up that you've seen? Have you seen other hands? I think there was one. Okay, I'll ask again, and I'll check online. Good evening.
Hi. Good evening. All right. Hello, school committee. My name is Neela Armstrong. My pronouns are she, her. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My child is a transgender 6th grader at Marshall Simons Middle School. He consented to my speaking about him tonight. Supportive parents, other family members, teachers, peers, librarians, and kind hairdressers were key in my child's mental health turning a corner a couple of years ago. There's something about watching my child sit in the hairdresser chair and come out with an expressive new hairdo that makes them feel fierce. Think of the coach lacing up the boxing gloves of his athlete and giving that pep talk, eye of the tiger. As educators, you know, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Parents and educators nurture, coach, mold our youth. A growth mindset, a positive attitude, a supportive community. Psychological safety and physical safety are cornerstones to a successful education and development. What do we teach in our schools? Communication, among other things, right? Although I just heard you, Mrs. Simon and Dr. Conti. The emails that came out left me confused on what actions were being taken with regard to identifying individuals who need guidance to understand the harm that they caused, and I now feel less confidence about the safety of my proud rainbow-haired child in Marshall Simons Middle School. I agree with you. These are middle schoolers, they're children, and they deserve some privacy. Also, the opportunity to be given the space to grow. The school committee, the administration needs to take a firm, fair, kind, growth mindset, teachable moment stance on this, but it has to be clear. Parents whose kids are displaying disrespectful behavior over the long term should face consequences eventually. But right now, I think some are missing out on the opportunity to open a dialogue and make this a teachable moment. What's offensive about showing respect for your others? What exactly is being shoved down your throat? If you or your student was offended and you'd like to have coffee with me to have a little dialogue and find some common ground, I invite you to reach out. Oh wait, allies too, please. To parents who say this is not a discussion for school, should be kept at home, I say these kids planned and executed a counter demonstration, thus showing their valuable skills of planning, organizing, and communicating. The school should jump on this as an opportunity to teach communication and open a dialogue with the community, transparent to the parents, and leverage those skills to teach these kids what they're doing and how to do it properly. When I was in junior high school, I was in 8th grade. We walked out. We protested 2 teachers' contracts that were not renewed. We went right to the superintendent's office. And, you know, we protested everything over the next 4 years, several protests over the years. My class was we were quite the rascals.
It is 3 minutes if you could conclude.
Certainly.
Thank you.
We had an active, robust, calm, kind dialogue with our very patient principal, Dr. Brayman, the VP, the superintendent. He taught us what we were doing, saying how it impacted others, and whether it was okay, and he showed us the right way to do it. Use this as a teachable moment to gently correct intolerance and get that non-negotiable respect. Include the community, be visible, set an example. If we can be part of an open dialogue of mutual respect, we'll find our community moving along what's called the riddle scale. I have handouts. The homophobic
Thank you.
The homophobic attitudes lessen, tolerance becomes acceptance, hopefully supporting and nurturing eventually is what our students need, is nurturing. This is my last thing to say. I have a couple of these cards that I took from the bulletin boards at work where we are having our Pride celebration in Boston. They say, I'm an ally because, and mine says, I'm an ally because feeling safe and supported is key for youth development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is the time when I would, in a different situation, ask if there's anyone who has something different they want to say, but everyone's story is so personal. I do want to make sure that everyone who came to say something tonight has that opportunity, and I'll check online in a minute as well. Is there anyone else here who would like to say something that has not been said before, perhaps? But we have 2 more hands back there, so I'll take the one on the aisle first. And again, if you could keep it to 3 minutes, that would be good. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Barbara Martinez. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a parent to 2 children in the Burlington Public Schools. I'm also here to read the statement by the Burlington Equity Coalition. I'm a member and the community liaison. The Burlington Equity Coalition is committed to building an inclusive, equitable, and welcoming community that benefits from the diverse knowledge, cultures, talents, and contributions of all its residents. Our vision is to live in and create a community wherein all people, regardless of race, ethnicity, sexual orientation or gender identity, religion, education, age, disability, and socioeconomic status, are respected and valued. On Friday, June 2nd, at Marshall Simons Middle School, students were invited to show their pride and wear rainbow clothing in celebration of Pride Month. On that same day, there was a counter-demonstration in response to what should have been a day to celebrate, where students wore red, white, and blue clothing, chanted, "My pronouns are USA," and destroyed rainbow decorations at the school. These displays of intolerance and homophobia are unacceptable and impact the whole community. The Burlington Equity Coalition stands in support of and solidarity with the members of the school community who are harmed by these acts of intolerance. We call upon the school administration to address and provide consequences for the students who participated in the counter-protest. While this is an opportunity for education for the whole community and a chance to remind residents that each person is important and welcome in our town, we also believe that without any direct and concrete action, these incidents will occur again and increase in severity. In addition, we call on school administration to hire a DEI director for the district, a position which has now been unfulfilled for almost a year. We challenge Burlington Town leadership to take an active stand against hate under the guise of free expression. We ask that the Select Board reinstate the recently disbanded Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee and set an unequivocal example for all Burlington residents that our community won't accept acts of bigotry. The Burlington Equity Coalition is committed to keeping our leaders accountable and working with them to create a community that is inclusive and equitable to people of all backgrounds. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. Yep. Hi.
Hi, I will be brief. My name is Melissa Interest. I am in Precinct 6. My pronouns are she, her. I really just wanted to share with you all of the news that we made today. We made international news, we made national news, and I wanted to submit all of these articles for your review and for the minutes. I can't say again what everyone has said so eloquently, so I will just say this is an opportunity, and I look forward to seeing how we take advantage of this opportunity to right this ship and to repair all of these harms that have been done. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online, Mr. Cuna, who had their hand raised?
There's no hands raised right now on my.
I see one more hand in the back. Ms. Ellis, you want to come up?
It's really close. Thank you. Sherry Ellis. I'm a resident, but also a town meeting member, and I'm actually going to speak as a town meeting member, one of 126 of us. I was a proponent for the DEI warrant article, and we've talked a little bit about that, so I had something prepared, but I'm not going to do that. As a legislator of this town, I want to encourage the school committee, as I have encouraged members of the select board, to reach out to each other. This is not just a school issue, as we've all talked, and thank you all for your heartfelt words. This is a community issue, and we can't be siloed anymore. The select board can't say it's a school issue, and the schools can't say, well, we can't deal with the town. You know, town meeting provided some money to the select board to work on DEI training. You know, let's get together as the boards that are important in this town and work together to really address this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else with a hand up online? No. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? I want to thank everyone who, we do have more hands. I'm sorry. It wasn't high enough. I apologize.
And I apologize if any of this is repetitive, but as a queer adult in the community,
your story.
This is my story.
Yes.
And how I'm feeling about this incident. So good evening, Chair Simon and school committee members. My name is Andrea Bono-Bunker. My pronouns are she, her. And I stand before you as a former high school teacher, a current librarian, and a resident of our town. I am also a member of the LGBTQIA+ community. My wife is here with me tonight. I know tonight has been about opening dialogue and requesting action. I also know that our schools are a microcosm of the macrocosm. The issues we are discussing are issues in our schools because they are issues in our community. You cannot learn, heal, and grow in a silo. Everyone is looking for actionable steps, but the first step is looking inward at oneself. Do you truly believe that our society should be equitable and that this democracy is worth defending? If you believe both of those ideals, do your actions and words uphold them, honor them, and embody them? Our public schools, just like our public libraries, are manifestation of those ideals. Teaching is one of, if not the most, difficult professions. Educators are entrusted with opening up the minds of children who have yet to reach formal operational thought and whose emotional intelligence is still developing. Children tend to hew to the belief system they learn at home, with some continuing to hold those same beliefs into adulthood and some formulating their own ideas about this world as they grow. But no matter the belief system, I think every one of us can agree that hurtful words and actions toward one another and toward signs and symbols of identity are wrong. The use of the American flag in a hateful act is equally as vile. The children who committed those acts of intolerance and intimidation on June 2nd may or may not know the extent of the impact of what they did. They may receive praise at home for their participation or punishment at home for the cruelty of it all. They may not know that those acts are in alignment with white nationalism. They may not know that those acts harmed not only their classmates, teachers, and administrators, but also the community where they live. While these students are culpable, the underlying issue is where did they get the idea to do this in the first place? As a community, we must unite against and educate about such misguided, harmful, and hateful rhetoric. I have heard some state that a Pride celebration is shoving LGBTQIA+ acceptance down their throat, but the real question is, why can't they stomach it? We, the LGBTQIA+ community, exist in this world every day, offering valuable contributions, living our lives, all while being surrounded by heterosexual, cis-affirming messaging everywhere we look. Some of us were raised, like myself, in a strict conservative household where our parents believed the same harmful rhetoric that resulted in these hateful acts. Some of us, like myself, were sent to religious schools where any expression of an identity other than one sanctioned was punished. But despite all that, we still are who we are, and we share who we are, not to indoctrinate like our parents tried to do to us, but to be visible for others to find strength in themselves. When I walk my dogs around my neighborhood loop that comes up to the middle school, sometimes I cross paths with teachers coming or going. I see rainbow stickers on some of their water bottles, and I smile. I think about how much mental and emotional torture childhood me and teenage me could have avoided if I had seen one adult in my life send a sign, speak a word, or be the living proof that it was okay to be who I was and that there was a place waiting for me in this world. So to our educators, I say thank you for being beacons of light, hope, and truth. And to our students, I say we see you, we support you, and there is a place in this world for you now and for you in the future. I am so sorry that you have to experience the intolerance, injustice, and hurt, that we and the generations before us did. You keep on being fabulous and being proud of who you are. The adults in this room and in this community have a lot of work to do to make this better so that you inherit a better world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do want to make sure that everyone who wanted to speak has the opportunity. I will pause a little longer. Wait time is hard sometimes. I want to thank everyone who spoke and everyone who came to support our students, our families, our teachers, and our school district, and we will all continue to, as we said, try to make things better for everyone. So thank you very much. It's a little hard, but I do have a business meeting to try to get through, so I am going to move to the next topic on the agenda. But thank you all for coming. Oh, the next item on the agenda is the student report from our student representative, Matt Shannon, and he usually has a good report, so you might want to stay for that, but you don't have to.
Hi, I would first like to reintroduce myself. As Ms. Simon said, I am Matthew Shannon, the student representative to the school committee, a position that I was reelected to for the next school year by student council members throughout the high school. As always, I will start off this report with school news. However, I will keep this quick as I must conclude with a statement regarding the recent event at Marshall-Simons. It is an issue that needs to be talked about by students, teachers, parents, and Burlington community members, and it is my responsibility to do that. And it is my responsibility to do that as a student representative. In recent news, the class of 2023 graduated. I and many other students attended to show appreciation and support for the seniors. BHS also held the Junior Book Awards, where top-performing students are awarded different distinctions based on their merit. Students from both MSMS and BHS are currently at the University of Maryland competing in the National History Day competition. I know from experience that they have worked hard and hope for their success. In other news, BHS sports teams have made deep runs in the playoffs. Namely, the varsity softball team will play in the Division II Final Four, facing off Westfield tomorrow in Worcester. Furthermore, as it is the last week of school, students eagerly await summer vacation, but this also means that high school students are enduring an intense finals week. I know that everyone is working hard to finish the year on a high. I will now move on to my written statement. As it was not specifically outlined in the agenda for tonight's meeting, I would like to speak on the recent event at Marshall Simons. I will display intense emotions about this intense event. I have added some remarks to this report since the beginning of the meeting and apologize for limited fluidity and loquaciousness. First, I apologize to those students affected by these events. As someone who has faced homophobia throughout my entire academic career, starting at Fox Hill and continuing today at BHS, I empathize with you. Second, I thank those community members who came to share remarks, to share support. Your courage and motives are both noted and deeply appreciated. On the planned Pride celebration, instead of bearing the colors of the rainbow, some students wore red, white, and blue face paint and clothing. Instead of respecting the celebration, some students tore up Pride stickers and took down posters meant to encourage inclusivity. These premeditated, harmful acts by a small group of students intimidated many of those who came into MSMS ready to show their support during Pride Month. These homophobic actions were backed by patriotism, which presents the idea that LGBTQ+ identities are not accepted in America, a nation built on oppression. I wrote this report when I first learned of the event's occurrence. I would like to illuminate the fact that no administrator in the Burlington Public School System alerted high school students of these events. I only heard about this when my AP psychology teacher, Dr. Rachel Gould, sent me a supportive message alerting me of said events. Although I appreciated this and support her allyship, I was quickly angered that there was no communication between students and administration. The news has been spread to an international level, and I and other Burlington High School students have still yet to receive any formal update from school officials on this act of intolerance. This silence is recognized and it is harmful, for we are a part of the school committee as well. School community as well, I apologize. Earlier today, while scrolling through TikTok, a video from a verified account with 3.8 million followers reported on this incident. Comments from outsiders showed support. However, some of these comments came from Burlington students themselves, who were seemingly proud of these homophobic actions. Whether they were joking or not, these remarks are disheartening. Although this event has pulled back the curtain on intolerance in the school system, homophobia is nothing new at our middle school, at our elementary schools, and at our high school. As Nate Carey stated earlier, friends, peers, and myself have been the receiving end of homophobic rhetoric and slurs on almost the daily. To say that these have had a major impacts on the mental health of those around me would diminish the harsh impacts that this oppression has had. In the fall, a group of peers, teachers, and I came together to advocate for the reposting of the DEI coordinator position. While we were told that the position would be reposted, and while we hope that plans are currently in place to repost that position, many people in Burlington still contest its existence. However, the recent events that were blatantly exclusive of the LGBTQ+ community highlight the ever-present need for such an administrator. It is worth the money, space, and instructional time to teach the future generations how to treat other humans with decency, respect, and dignity. With the implementation of educational programs like BHS's Advocacy Room that cover inclusivity, anti-racism, and supportive behavior to oppressed groups, events such as the one that recently occurred at MSMS will soon be pieces of history. This education on human rights is necessary to foster a welcome community, and it is necessary in a school system that prides itself on supposed equity. There has been discussion on whether to keep the discussion of social issues inside the home, but for students who do not feel safe in their household, this is inequitable. The school system needs to teach students that hate is not acceptable in any community. But to make this change, it requires action from leaders that are both in the school and Burlington community. Hopefully this dark mark in our town's history will be looked upon as a turning point for the school system and for our community as a whole, which both pledge to create critically thinking students in an increasingly diverse society. Yet, this is only possible if people begin to recognize such intolerance that is ever so present in our community, and if people actively advocate for progress to make change. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see the necessary change and action.
Matt, before you leave, I want to thank you for your comments and for your, two parts. I want to thank you for your statement tonight and taking the courage to say that, and that's been very appreciated, and I don't want to just go, whoop, okay? I also want to thank you for your service on the school committee this year, and I'm delighted that you'll be here again next year to work with us and to keep us on the right track, and to encourage you to keep giving us the messages that we need to hear and giving us ideas of ways that we can improve so that we can make this school district even better for even more students, and for all students is what we want, okay? And before you leave, I want to know if there's any other school committee members who'd like to make a comment. It's not required, I just didn't want you to just run out and someone go, Jerry wanted to say something. So, Mrs. Monaco.
I'm really glad you're coming back next year.
Okay. Yeah. And Dr. Conti, any?
No, Matt, thanks. And I was happy to meet your parents at the book awards. So again.
Okay. And I also want to say I'm so glad you're coming back next year. I really enjoyed having you be a part of this, and thank you for your participation and sharing your feelings.
Thank you very much. Good luck this summer, and we'll see you in the fall.
Okay. Oh, I thought of something else, but now I forgot it. So I'll see you again next year, but do have a good summer, okay? And thank you. Yeah. Thank you. All right. That was our first information and report. Next, we have our subcommittee reports, and for tonight, we've put that under that the Fox Hill Burlington Elementary School Building Committee update. And Dr. Conti, do you want to introduce?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. We're joined here by Donna Danisco from Danisco Design. I think we also have Christine from Doran Whittier. I think Donna will go through the timeline with the committee, but this is a first reading, so it doesn't require a vote. We'll be asking the school committee for a vote on our next meeting again, which is on Monday, June 26th. And again, the educational program review and space summary, I believe, is a critical part of the design process and application that we have to submit to the MSBA. There's been a lot of work on that. I want to, Donna, thank you and your staff. I want to thank my staff for contributing. And again, whatever building gets designed needs to reflect the programming that you all support. And I think it's just as simple as that, even though the document is very complex. But with that, Donna, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Conti, Ms. Simon. Here's my wingman here, so please. Great. First, I want to say thank you, and it is really great to be here. And as Dr. Conti mentioned, that the educational program is really the very first step in the feasibility study stage. I'm just going to have to keep saying next. I am sorry. That's okay. Thank you. The town of Burlington, or Burlington Public Schools, is really fortunate to have been selected to work or to be part of the MSBA program, Mass School Building Authority core program. It shows and demonstrates a true need, but with that comes a prescriptive process that MSBA requires us to go through. At its core, MSBA's goals are to support communities and help communities build educational facilities that support education and are available for all students, as well as are cost effective. So with that, they really start at the educational program. They want to make sure that the educational program informs the design. So that is why we are before all of you this evening. The first part, that's okay. The first part of the feasibility study is the preliminary design program. And again, the educational program and the space requirements for the preliminary design program is what informs the remaining parts of the educational program, or with the preliminary design program. So if you want to just go to the next slide. The education program, what we've done, and Dr. Conte, thank you for all of your work as well as your staff. We have developed 2 educational programs. We'll be submitting them, I guess, online this evening for everyone. MSBA is requesting, or I'll say it differently, we need to review 2 enrollment options, one for 325 students and one for 640 students for both the Pine Glen and Fox Hill School. So the simplest way to put this together was not to commingle the different educational programs. So you'll be receiving 2 educational programs. The major components are exactly the same. It is how you deliver your educational program, what your programs are, what the teaching methodology is, and everything. So there's just slight nuances with the 2 educational programs. So they both identify all of the special education programs district-wide. They talk about all of the educational programs to be offered at the Fox Hill School. And it also talks about the programmatic spatial relationships and adjacencies, which are really helpful for us as we start putting together the building blocks, which will inform the overall space needs and total square footage for the project. Here are all the categories that are outlined in the educational program. Extremely thoughtful. A lot of time has gone into it. A lot of it just supports everything that you do day in and day out. But this helps us understand what your needs are, your space needs to support these programs, and then how the building wants to get molded and put together. As we started putting together the educational program, it was also helpful to understand what the visions are for this project. And we started by understanding what the project goals are of the school building committee, many of which are 21st century learning, a building that of course has to meet the enrollment. But the building must meet the needs of students and staff with effective learning, flexible and adaptable learning, and also looking forward to the future. So all of these are really helpful as we start thinking about how we're going to design and shape your building. We also went and it was important to hear what the staff had to say, wanting to know what their educational priorities are, to try to think beyond their 4, or I guess in the snowflake design, many walls, not just 4 walls there. But it was great. We did speak to both the Fox Hill and the Pine Glen, again, as a requirement of the core program with the MSBA. And so you'll see that they had a lot of similarities, a lot of priorities. So it is great to hear that everyone is all thinking the same. And then as it might also start helping us understand what is important architecturally or from a built environment, we started to ask what's important and what their vision is, to look beyond what their current existing conditions are and how we can help support them. And you'll see that there's a lot of very similar requirements or ideas or visions for them. So it's been a great experience as we've gone through it. We also, as part of the educational program, there's a section that talks about your spatial relationships and adjacencies, programmatic adjacencies, how we can maximize time on learning, and what's important to support the whole student. So when we started having these conversations with the district, it was important that we create optimum adjacencies between the programs, classrooms to be clustered by grades, the integrated student support and special education, and then also just to have that vertical and horizontal collaboration for the PLCs and every way to support the students throughout the school. So as we started hearing all of this, we've put together a diagram, which is also a requirement of MSBA, but it shows that the purple is the academic wings and all of the support that is needed and the programs needed to support the whole student, as well as spaces that can also be used for community use. So the community use spaces such as the gymnasium, the cafeteria, and even the media center could be used for the community use while maybe closing off the academic use and making sure that that's safe and secure. Very similar, again, as a requirement with MSBA having to look at both enrollments, we looked at how Fox Hill and Pine Glen could possibly be merged. Not saying that is the ultimate solution, but it's a requirement. Recognizing that they both feel it's important to maintain their own identities. And so we have developed something similar to the 325 student spatial relationship diagram. Again, having the classrooms clustered and the educational programs almost identical with the exception of the special ed program requirements, but keep each school with its own identity and then sharing some of the core facilities such as a cafeteria, gymnasium, and even media center. These spaces will be large enough that they can be used simultaneously by both schools, but maintaining independence for both schools as well. So just really quickly, and I know we've talked about this a lot, so I don't want to spend too much time and ruin your happy reading here. But again, just rolling out the spaces required based on everything that we've heard. We've put up both options, option 1 for 325 students, option 2 for 640. And I do want to say that Burlington's class size policy is commendable with 18 students in a classroom. And that is not standard. In fact, I want to give a shout out to you all. You advocated well for MSBA, and they've accepted that even as they looked at the availability and capacity at all your other schools. So just really quickly, this slide, and it's detailed as well in these plans, indicate that you need 3 classrooms per grade for 325 students and then 6 classrooms per grade for 640 students. But that's only part of the story, right? And that document will demonstrate all of the other needs that or all the other programs that need spaces to support teaching the whole student. This is an MSBA space summary, and it will be included with these ed programs in a much more detailed, it will tell you prescriptively the size of classrooms and everything else. Every single space will be reviewed and approved by MSBA. But in summary, this demonstrates your core academic needs, which includes your general classrooms or homerooms, but it also includes programs such as your science, tech, engineering spaces, ELL, literacy, and math specialists, as well as tutors. The special education category, something else that I really enjoy getting to learn and know about Burlington, is the level of support that you have for your special education students and the programs. The special education programs include the lab program that currently exists at Fox Hill, and also the DSC program that currently is at Pine Glen, with all of the other supports such as speech and language, BCBA's learning centers, OT, PT, small group instruction, et cetera. So it's quite a robust program. We have art and music, health and PE, media center, dining, and so on. And all the detail will be presented and available for you to read here. In the end, when we're looking at this, you'll see that your current Fox Hill School with over 400 students only has, I'm rounding here, 46,000 square feet, and that's with over 400 students. Based on today's standards for educational spaces, for 325 students, it's demonstrating that you need around 60,000 square feet of program space. And then for a combined school, it's over 100,000. So that's the program areas that we need within a school. And then what we need is to provide the overall school, which is corridors, bathrooms, mechanical spaces, closets, and even just the width of the exterior walls. So that's calling your gross square feet. And you take the program and you multiply that by 1.5, and that will give you the gross square footage of your buildings. So based on your educational program, with all the support and the staff that you have in these to support the students, we're looking at a school around 90,000 for 325 students and 655,000 for 640 students.
Donna, those are sort of abstract numbers. Can I just drag Bob into this question
Sure.
for a second? So, Bob, just for, again, is Memorial around 85,000 square feet?
Correct, 84, yeah, 84 and change, yep.
So just to give everyone sort of some idea, and do we have a school, I'm sorry, I can't, is it 150, 155? Do we have a school, is that Francis Wyman, or?
155 is a little bit larger than Francis Wyman. The middle school is larger than 154, so somewhere in between.
So somewhere in between Francis Wyman and the middle school, just to make it more concrete.
Thank you. And one of the reasons is the lab program at Fox Hill does require quite a bit of space, which MSBA supports as well, and would support you in creating the appropriate space there as well. One other minor difference, and you'll read it in the educational program, and Dr. Conti, feel free to jump in, that looking at the population, the needs of the DSC program that's currently at Pine Glen, there's a desire to consider moving one of the DSC programs from Pine Glen to Fox Hill in when this becomes reality, not now for sure. It will allow, it's growing so much they don't have the appropriate spaces for the program, and it's kind of eating into the program spaces that currently exist there. And then there's also a desire to not have one school with a heavy population or a very large program for a special education. So we're very thoughtful, and so that too is outlined in this as well.
Donna, just quickly to the special ed education classrooms that we're talking about. Are they full-size classrooms, even though the enrollment of those classrooms is limited by regulation?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, so any dedicated program, I don't want to say that it's a sub-separate program, but any dedicated program that students are utilizing for more than just pull-out services, we are required through DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. It's not MSBA who's telling us that we have to do this. It's DESE who is saying that every student should have equal opportunities, and that means the same size classroom. So even if the population is 10 students, it's 10 students plus 2 aides and a staff person, right? The number of bodies in that classroom are probably equal to or even maybe greater than. So yes, so those classrooms are full-size classrooms, which is important.
So this is what we typically call a first reading. We're not going to vote on anything tonight, but you've presented. For some of us, we've seen a presentation,
Yes.
a preliminary presentation at the school building committee meeting. But I want to give the committee members an opportunity if they have any comments at this point. No? Yes, so we will have these packets for the next 2 weeks. And it's my understanding then we vote to approve, as the school committee, we vote to approve the educational program that would then go to the MSBA. Is that accurate, or is school building committee? I want to just be clear.
No, that's okay. Yes, so you would vote to approve the educational programs and the space requirements.
Okay.
Which we then will bring to the building committee, who will vote to submit the entire preliminary design program to the MSBA. And that includes the educational programs and spaces, but the existing condition reports and some of the design parameters and things like that.
So it's our role to approve, to vote on at our next meeting, these two programmatic pieces of the process. One is the educational program, and one is the space program.
Space summary. Yeah, they call it
Okay.
space summary, yes.
I also, for people who are just hearing this presentation for the first time, I want to just clarify the two different educational programs are written because we are considering all of the options. And one of the programs is if we were to just rebuild the Fox Hill School for 320 or 25 students, and what that educational program looks like. And the other packet or document is if we were to combine the students from the Fox Hill School and the Pine Glen School with 640 students, and it could be all one building, or it could be what I'm calling the butterfly building, which is the picture that you showed earlier, where each school would have their own separate identity, but it would be 640 students in that complex. And we have to, because those are two options, we have to provide MSBA with two separate documents. Is that accurate? So
correct.
for people who are just kind of checking in. Also, my understanding is that all of your presentation will be posted on the school building website as of tomorrow, hopefully.
Yes.
That would be updated. And I also wanted to point out for people who are just tuning into this, thinking about it, the pictures that you showed earlier with the purple, if you could, Mr. Cunha, go back to one of those are not architectural designs. That's not what we think the building's going to look like. Those are what people are starting to hear called spatial relationships. So it shows that the kitchen has to be near the cafeteria, and the special education classroom may need to be near a certain grade level, a group of classrooms, that kind of thing. So this is not an architectural design, it's just what things need to be near each other. Is that correct?
Correct, yes,
So I wanted
thank you.
to point that out. I also, you commented that the MSBA we were very fortunate, Dr. Conti worked with them, and they accepted us at our 18 students average per classroom. We don't have 18 students in every classroom. We have an average of 18 students per classroom. So I just wanted to be clear, because if we have parents whose kids are in classrooms that have more than 18 kids, and some with less. So I wanted to point that out. So if there's no other questions, we will have we will have 2 weeks to look at these, and we can get our questions and comments to you and the school building committee, and we will move forward. And any other questions? So, Mrs. Monaco.
Hi, Donna. I'm just curious about something. There were, 6 different things that we had to look at, like renovating the school, adding on to the school, doing the same thing at Pine Glen instead of Fox Hill. I'm curious, how is it that we can submit only these 2 to MSBA? What happened to the others? I know they're not good ideas. I'm not questioning that. But what is the rule relative to what you have to submit and what you don't have to submit?
Thank you. So MSBA is asking to start with your educational program first. And then they do ask us to look at, what if we just repair the existing building? Right. So we have developed through the building committee a criteria matrix. And we will take each of the options that we're required to study and compare it against the criteria matrix. The first one being, will it meet your educational program? And the answer will be no. So we've developed an educational program to support, or spaces to support your educational program, which will demonstrate that your existing building is not large enough to support that educational program. So therefore, the building committee can say, we are going to request to remove that option from further consideration so we don't have to study it anymore. And the reason being is it doesn't meet your educational program.
So what about, say, the addition?
The same with the addition. So again, going back to your spatial relationships and adjacencies, the building will be slightly bigger, right, because of its inefficiencies. your spatial relationships and adjacencies aren't going to be there. Classrooms probably, we'll do our best to make sure that the classrooms per grade are together with all of that. But it all goes back to, does it meet your educational program? And it will, that snowflake design is a challenge. And so you will probably find, I mean, that's at the purview of the building committee, will determine how well a renovation addition meets your educational program. So it's right. So it all goes back to the educational program. And you'll say, gee, that doesn't work. So why do we have to consider it further? But
I get it. So this is the first step.
This
and
is
then
the first step.
Whatever would work is what you go forward with.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Bob, yes, Mr. Cuna.
Sorry if I may through the chair.
yes, please.
Hopefully I'm saying the right things for Chris's question. We have 2 educational programs because we have a single building and a potential consolidation, right? So that's why there's 2. If we weren't considering the potential consolidation, we would just have 1, right? And then later on in the process is when we'll consider the options for each one of those potentials.
I hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions or comments at this point on the Fox Hill building? Well, thank you for coming
Yeah, thank
tonight.
you. Sorry, I'm giving you homework for 2 weeks.
So we do have
You thought school was just
we did
out.
receive the documents, and if we have any questions, we will get back to you, right?
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
And again, I just want to stress for the committee that I don't believe any of us are architects. The design is going to be done well. I think the process will be managed well. What we all sort of have control over is the program. So it's really important that this reflect what you want to see in the school. So again, I would say this is a critical step.
Is there any room for growth in the special ed programs built into this? Because they just keep getting bigger as we devise more programming so the kids stay in district.
I think we can't completely future-proof, Donna, the school, but we are looking at the, I think we are looking, for instance, at the 325 school model, looking at a developmental skills classroom DSE program at Pine Glen as sort of expanding. You know, we started with 1 classroom. We're currently going to have 5 next fall.
Right.
I think what we're talking about is sort of 3 and 3, so it would be a 6 student. So we're trying to think about that. I think we'd be okay at the elementary level. I think where we're seeing space pressure now is at the middle school level, and ultimately we'll see, as those kids age up, we'll see the need for more specialized space here at the high school. So. So again, I think that's kind of it. We can't. I know the old process used to say bump up it by 10%, but we can't do that anymore, right?
Correct. So again, I think in support of education and your space needs I think that you provide significant amount of staff and support for the students, which should allow you some flexibility in the future as well.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about this presentation? And we will have more opportunities to talk at our next meeting
I
about
look
it.
forward to it.
Good. Thank you so much. I also know Mr. Moran was planning to attend online. If he's not there, that's fine. But that I don't think there are any Ways and Means issues tonight. But I want to acknowledge that we have that on the agenda. And if there are no other questions or comments from Ways and Means, I just want to know if anyone else has any other announcements. Okay, I have a couple. First of all, I want to congratulate all the seniors and all the families. I made it to 2 graduations, which was wonderful. We had, one was the main graduation. We also had a graduation from our evening academy of students who were provided an alternative kind of education and were successful and are both moving on to success in their next stage. Our main graduation was so full that there were a lot of people standing. There were people in the bleachers behind us, and a couple of people were requesting that for next year we see if we could maybe get more seats out there in the field, because people if it's an outdoor graduation, which we always hope it is, there wasn't even enough room practically. So if we could think about having more chairs out there, that would be great. But that was exciting, and I wish all the seniors the best in their futures. I also wanted to mention, I can't quite keep up with all the sports teams, but the softball team, which I think won their 13th league championship, 13 years in a row under Coach Kristen Farrell. Did I get that right? Fabulous team. I got to go watch a couple of those games, and they are now in the Final Four, which is Wednesday at Worcester State. It's a neutral territory, not on either home team. So I'm very excited for them, and I wish them the best. I know the lacrosse teams were playing as we drove in tonight, so we're still in the running in lacrosse, and I think I saw boys and girls teams there. I don't have the details, but we have had some pretty wonderful athletic seasons this year, so congratulations to all of those students as well. Any other announcements? All right, so moving on to learning, equity, and thriving. Dr. Conti.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know it's late, so I'm going to try to move through this pretty quickly. We have a request from the World Language Department requesting approval for a trip to Canada with the student travel company Promotour. Promotour delivers a customized trip to teachers and their students throughout Canada. Our BHS French teacher, Yusia Peng, would like to offer high school French students a 5-day trip to Quebec and Montreal during the week of February break 2024. Ms. Peng has been collaborating with Laura Feig, former BHS French teacher and current French teacher at Lincoln Sudbury High School, and they would like to offer this travel opportunity to both schools as a combined trip. The cost of the trip per student is in your packet, and it will significantly decrease because of the two schools operating together, so you see the costs. It's recommended that the school committee approve the high school French student 5-day trip to Quebec and Montreal during the week of February break 2024.
So moved. Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All those in favor? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 401.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Again, Madam Vice Chair, also in your packet are the proposed dates for the 2023-2024 school committee schedule. I just wanted to get them out as early as possible. We're going to scrub the dates just to make sure the September, October dates, there aren't any conflicts, but this was basically, I think, Mary Ann, just looking at the second and fourth Tuesday of the year. So again, very, very typical of the calendar. So
could I make a request?
Please.
Because I didn't have time to look at all of them, but I noticed that in April 9th is Eid al-Fitr, and that April 23rd is the second night of Passover. So we might want to look at the April dates. And I didn't get to May and June to see if there was anything else. But so we may need to tweak it a little bit. But we don't have to decide that tonight, right?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll check out April and May and June. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, again, depending on everyone's stamina, I know policy work is tough. We can push section E and F to our next meeting if public comment sort of ate up a bunch of time and you want to get to other discussion items. Again, I just want to offer that to the committee,
right.
Or we can get to the other items, and if we finish those and people have energy, we can go back to the policies. I know that's tough work.
We
Is
could
that
move
okay?
ahead and see if we have energy to do it later. Okay, great. Sigh of relief. Okay.
Hoping we don't get to it later.
And I just want to inform the committee, Marion, we have, we were going to do E and F tonight, but we have E, F, G, and H and I completed.
Oh, good. That's good.
Right, so we have, again, I think we're making progress, so we'll have plenty of time for policies moving forward. So again, Madam Chair, with that, may I move to Facilities and Finance?
Please do.
Okay, with that, I'll pass it over to Nicole for the financial update. Nicole, thank you.
So this month's financial update, all of our capital articles and our revolving are in good standing. And there's no concerns or really significant changes from last month for operating or accommodated. So I don't foresee any issues with us closing out the year. So unless anyone has any specific questions
Revolving.
on that. And then also either at our next meeting or the following, we'll bring you the capital articles that are completed but still have balances so that the committee can vote to close out funds that we no longer need.
I have a question. We got a few different agendas. Do you know, this particular document is...
June 9th, the first one you got from
The
Mary
first
Ann
one
on June
has
9th.
this attachment,
Should.
right?
It should have all of them, including the E and the F
The policies. Are there any others that we don't have yet?
Any other what?
Financial attachments, documents, like the cafeteria stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's separate. That's for the next agenda item.
Okay. So I need to go, let me just look at yours for a minute.
For the revolving?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question on the?
Sure.
Revolving? Can you help me to understand the ending balance on the school lunch revolving account?
Sure, what are you looking to understand?
Should I wait until we go into the cafeteria stuff? What I'm trying to figure out is basically cafeteria numbers, so let's keep going and I'll go back to that.
Yeah, I have more depth information on
Okay.
CAF in the next.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions about financial reports? It's good to know we're in good shape for the end of the year. I know Dr. Conti and Ms. Kasha are working on final bills and final expenses, and it looks like we're good to go, right? That's the technical term, right?
Yep.
Good to go?
All right. All right, so next item would be the cafeteria update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bob, before we get to the actual financials, we have a meeting scheduled, is it on Friday?
This Friday, yes, 11.
Around 11:30?
11:30, yep.
With the cafeteria staff?
Yep, so union representation from the cafeteria managers will be there. Myself and Dr. Conti will meet with them on Friday at Pine Glen.
I know the school committee sort of wanted me to follow up with the cafeteria workers, so that's happening on Friday.
You meeting with them?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Okay. And now there's there were some financial questions posed, so Nicole, you just handed out information, and again, I'll let you just step through it.
Sure. So at the last meeting, Mrs. Monaco asked some specific questions that she wanted us to elaborate on in terms of the school lunch program, since it's been operated under the food service management company, Whitson's, in March. So one of the first questions was asked to do a participation comparison. So for this, we have, I get two displays. There's one that's like a chart, and then there's another that has a graph with the same information, just, I guess, shown two different ways. We compared the same months of the prior school year, and basically did these out as like a daily participation as a percentage of enrollment. So these do like account for any changes in enrollment month over month between the years, and it also accounts for any differences in the number of days within each month that lunch was served. Because obviously those change from year to year based on like our school calendar and how holidays and whatnot fall.
So you did them year to year rather than, say, the earlier part of this school year compared with the current? So Whitson started in March. So.
So I've compared March of this year to March of last year.
I understand that. So, but you didn't do a comparison with, say, September, October, November to after Whitson started?
Because we don't have any comparative data for September with Whitson's.
Yeah, but basically without Whitson's and then with Whitson's this current school year. Anyway, go on, I get it.
Okay. Ms. Monaco had also asked sort of about how the flow of, I guess, expenses and revenue function now that we're using Whitson's, and everything's, those expenses and everything still flow through the school lunch revolving account, that Fund 351 that's on your, the monthly revolving report. So any à la carte sales, all the revenues go there. Reimbursements, they all go there. We do, some of our reimbursements on haven't been like received and posted yet, but they've been, they're in process with DESE right now. So on the revolving account financial summary, that the monthly one, there is, like you'll see that it's noted that the revenue for reimbursements are only posted through February, but on this packet tonight, I've included on page 6 all of the ones that are not included on that. So everything that we have claimed to date that we'll be receiving.
Can I ask a question? So going back to when we started this whole food service thing, and I bet you, I think it was 7 margaritas. But we won't go into that, or the paying off the bet. But what we talked about was that the revolving account, which at that time had 600 and, I don't remember, 630, 650, it had a lot of money in it. And my concern at the time was that all of the payments out to Whitson's and wherever else, and the reimbursements would eat into that account. And I know Dr. Conti went over it with Whitson's in the conference room, and we were assured that that money that was in that account would not be touched. So I sort of had it in my head, which doesn't make sense, but that's what I had in my head, that somehow things would be separate, so that that $640,000 would be untouched. And that the money would not be flowing in and out of that account. So now it's at 300 and something, and we're supposed to have our 600 plus 90 at the end of the Whitson's contract. So please help me understand how that's going to happen.
So we don't have an option to run these expenses through a separate fund by law.
Yeah, it didn't make sense.
They all have to go through, whether we're under self-op or a food service management company, they're required.
What do you mean by self-operate?
Yes.
Okay.
So at the beginning, when Whitson's came on board first day, the total in the account was $834,026. Yep, I listed all of this on page 1.
Down to 200,000. Okay.
And so, as I mentioned before, the balance that you're seeing on the monthly financials is showing what has been posted in Munis.
Yeah.
And it's only through February that we've received the reimbursements. However, on page 6, I've included the additional reimbursements since February that you can anticipate.
Anticipate, all right.
So that beginning balance when Whitson's came on board, then the all revenues and expenses, we will have an additional, it's $46,967. I know originally it was $90,000 based off of like how we issued the RFP, but then it was prorated to the number of days when they actually started the
So what
contract.
did it go down to?
To $46,967. And I've listed all these numbers on page 1 of this
So
handout.
it's 47,000, right?
Yep.
So if I understand you correctly, at the end of the school year, we should have $881,000 in the revolving account.
Yes. And if it's less than the starting balance plus what they guaranteed us, Whitson's is required by our contract to make the district whole.
Okay. I guess we'll wait with great anticipation, or at least I will. Maybe nobody else cares, but I will.
So there's like a lot of timing differences and everything else, so it's sort of hard when we're still sort of in the middle of accounting for all the revenues and expenses of the contract to tie this out to like an exact number, snapshot in time.
Okay.
But everything that's the detailed expenditures and everything is provided here.
So was any of that money spent on anything outside of Whitson's?
No money is allowed to be spent from that fund outside of the school lunch program.
So if you buy can openers, it goes through Whitson's?
Yes. Well, so it depends. So like some of like the smallware purchases will go through the district.
So I've been hearing about smallware purchases, like a bill for $5,000 for smallware purchases. What is that? What are smallwares?
Like miscellaneous like kitchen items. If like I've listed everything on here. So if you want to identify specific ones, I can get you a copy of the invoice, a detail,
Okay.
whatever you would
I
like.
don't want to drive you crazy, I just want to
No,
know
I want to get you the
where
information that
money's
you're
going.
asking for.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, Ms. Bond has a question.
Just a silly question, but, so we will know all of the final numbers by the end of the contract, is that correct? Or will there be a grace period after that where we'll see the final numbers?
It might be like a week or two after 6:30, just as we close out the year. And obviously when like things are purchased, sometimes it takes a little while for like the invoices to come through and everything, and get those paid and everything posted and tied out there. But shortly thereafter, I will have final numbers.
Okay. Are there any other questions on this report right now? While we're on the topic, are things moving forward with the RFP?
Yes.
If you could give us a brief update.
Right now, it's just sort of cleaning up some last-minute questions, going back and forth with the state in order to get that ready to be advertised.
Thank you. Yes. So are we all set with this? Okay, shall we move on, Dr. Conti?
Madam Chair, I just had one quick question.
Oh, sure.
Nicole, we can't carry that big of a balance, right, moving forward? We're limited?
Yes, so we're limited to 3 months of average expenditures from the program. So as part of our like routine review, we are going to need to develop a spend down plan so that we keep that balance to the required minimum, required max balance. And again, like our spend down plan can only be like reinvestments back into the program, like any needed equipment or upgrades in our kitchens.
Is there a deadline on that?
That's something that like we will work with the state, and they'll like help us develop like a reasonable timeline to spend that down.
Because I heard a rumor that money was already being spent somewhere.
It has not been committed yet.
And I heard that they need new ovens and they need this. So is that the kind of thing that would go toward? Okay, great. Ms. Monaco.
When we were doing the whole agreement, contract with Whitson's, do you remember, or maybe Eric remembers, what was their participation goal? It was pretty high, wasn't it? Like 75, 80?
I'd have to double check, but I can look that up and get that for you.
All right, just let me know.
I believe that we issued it saying like that we wanted to meet a specific, like a target percentage.
Well, I remember the discussion and all the projected things on the wall about how much money we had not spent on food, like they were appalled that we hadn't spent enough money on food, and then what the participation was and where they thought it was going to go. And looking at the participation numbers, the middle school has had a good increase in participation. The others I found a little unimpressive, but I just wondered how close they had gotten to their goal.
I can look back to see and
just
get you
let
that
me know.
information.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions, Ms. Monaco?
Not at the moment.
Okay, anyone else? All right, Dr. Conti?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have the Fox Hill Building Committee update, a standing agenda item. Madam Chair of the Fox Hill Building Committee.
I think that was addressed in the presentation. So I'm good.
Bob, anything to add? And again, so we'll make sure you get the program documents and get them on the agenda for the 26th.
Okay.
If I may, sorry.
Yes, Mr. Cuno?
Thank you, through the chair. So there is a school building committee meeting on June 20th. It was on the last slide of the presentation. So June 20th is school building committee. And then we have a community forum July 11th.
We just got a message today. I thought it was the 20-something.
The community forum is July 11th. But
Right, it was.
Community forum July
But the
11th.
meeting.
Is there a meeting on June 20th?
There's a meeting June 20th
Meeting in June-
next week. There's a school committee meeting then the following Monday, the 26th, I believe.
And we got a notice today about the June 28th.
Yeah.
Is
Yep.
there two in a
20th.
row because they have to get the PDP in?
Again, I have hang on.
20th and the 28th.
Because we have to vote on
Yeah,
the,
so the 20th is the further review of the criteria matrix, that's the school building committee. The 26th, regular school committee approval of space summary. 6/28 is the school building committee first review, estimated dollars, continuing review of concepts. July 11th, community meeting 2, overview of estimated costs and options. July 13th is a school building committee meeting. The only agenda item on that one will be to approve the PDP to submit to the MSBA. So it will not be a full business meeting. So that the next day, the 14th, is
there
their
it is.
target date to submit the PDP to the MSBA. We are still targeting a fall full community, more of a forum in the BHS, in-person forum in the BHS auditorium for September.
All right, any more comments or questions on the Burlington Elementary Building Committee? No? Okay. and the BHS School Building Committee. Do you have any updates for us, Mr. Cuna?
I do, thank you. So we've started discussions with the building principal, Mr. Sullivan, of course. He has had talks with some parents, teachers, and students to recommend to, I guess, to this committee, right? So the understanding I believe we have is that we were going to look to follow the same template and form of the MSBA's template, which is the process that we're using for the Fox Hill/Elementary School Building Committee. So going by that same template, there are some members that would stay on. Again, SBC member Nicole, local chief officer, Mr. Denizio, and so forth. Again, welcome Lisa Chen, Dr. Chen. We may introduce you into this committee. So there's a spot for the superintendent of schools. So again, there's a few pre-populated sections. And then, like I said, once Mr. Sullivan has formally confirmed that all these members want to join this committee, he'll make that recommendation. We'll present that too. But so again, we do have 6 proposed people, but he's just going to confirm that they do want to take on as an active member of the committee. So we will present that more, but the conversations are ongoing about forming the committee, and we'll have more input from the school committee probably at the next meeting.
And Bob, again, just for the financial position in the MSBA process, I reached out to Ways and Means, and Doug Davidson said that he would be interested in serving. I believe he's the incoming Ways and Means chair.
Not till next year.
Not till next year, but
John is still the chair.
John is still the chair, but I did reach out to John, and the Ways and Means, I think, asked, and Doug said he would be interested.
Thank you.
Okay. So I don't know that we need to make any final decisions tonight, but Ms. Bond and I were both interested in being the chair of this new committee, but we've agreed that she would be the one. I don't know if we want to have a vote on that tonight. I'd be interested in being the vice chair. So would people like to take that vote, and then we'll be able to move forward as we firm up the committee? I would accept a motion.
I move. That we take a vote or move?
To put in the chair and the vice chair, we do
Okay.
1 or 2 votes either way.
Let's do 2 votes.
2 votes.
Okay. I nominate Catherine Bond for chair of the Burlington High School Building Committee.
Second. Okay. All right.
And I'll make a motion.
Wait,
we're gonna vote.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye. I accept a motion for the vice chair.
I'll make a motion for Martha.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye. That's 5-0-0. So as we move forward in building this committee, we have those 2 positions set. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's critical that those 2 are on there. It's a bit atypical to have the full committee on both building committees.
Yeah.
But as the process moves forward, I think if we keep everyone on it, there may be meetings that you attend or meetings you don't attend. So I think it just would make sense to, you all can choose if there's a more valuable meeting or if there's a vote that you want to participate in. I think the new process has many things going through the school building committee, but as you sort of heard tonight, because the school committee is in charge of program, or if that falls under the school committee's purview, you're going to approve the program before it goes to the school building committee. The school building committee doesn't have the authority to create a program or eliminate a program. So that's kind of where we'll go. Again, but I'm fully certain that as these projects move forward, you may want to spend more time on one or on the other, and there are times when it's more intense or less intense. So again, Bob, just for everyone's, once the building committee is formed, we'll have a meeting, and then we need to put out a request for proposal for an owner's project manager, similar to what we did for the Fox Hill.
Exactly that. So, I mean, I guess we can do a couple of things. We could propose the known members right now, or wait till we have a finalized known list of members. So I would say at the next meeting, I'll have a finalized list. You can do with
And
that.
if I could just interject, at our last meeting, it was clear that we all wanted to also be on it, so all 5 of us would also be members of the BHS School Building Committee.
Yes, absolutely.
Correct.
Most of us remembered that, but in case, I just wanted to put that out. And so you think you'd have the final list at the next meeting?
I know that, like I said, there's 4 people that I'm waiting on confirmation.
And do I remember correctly that we need the School Building Committee to be formed and started in order to do the RFP process, or begin the RFP for the OPM meaning Owner's Project Manager?
Again, because this is our project, the answer technically is no, but what we're doing is we're following the script in case I'm optimistic at some future date that
what an optimist.
Ms. Masardo, don't shake your head. It may happen that we would do that. So we're going to put together the committee. Nicole, did we submit the RFP for the OPM? We coordinated that here locally, correct?
No, we.
You mean for the Fox Hill project?
Yes, for Doran Whittier. We did that here. So again, then Nicole would coordinate that process again, and then Building Committee would do the selections, go through the presentation process. So again, I'm hoping by next fall, we would have an OPM identified. Is there a different procurement process? I'm not even sure I'm asking this question well, but we currently have an OPM. Is there a procurement process that is different than sort of the bidding process at CM at risk or something like that?
Yes.
Am I thinking about that incorrectly for this?
Again, I think if we're following like the same script that we'd be required to if we were under MSBA, then would follow the same.
They took CM at risk, though, for the middle school.
Yeah, but that doesn't, it's not relevant to the OPM.
And then there's also like additional like requirements for who you have to have like in-house, like overseeing those projects if you go with the other
Procurement.
the other route, yeah.
Okay. So again, that would be something that the building committee would discuss, is sort of what procurement process. But again, if we were to follow this as the script from MSBA, then we would, you all participated in the OPM selection process. Mr. Brooks, you didn't, but it's RFP proposals. You guys go through a chart. You pick the top 3 or 4, they present, and then you would make the
But
selection.
not everybody on the School Building Committee did that selection process. We had a sort of a subcommittee of the School Building Committee that was on that, so you could choose to be on that.
I'm familiar. I've done a few short selections in my day, so I'm
again,
good.
so it's that process in place. But I'm saying, I think that's going to be, once the building committee is formed, then that's going to be the next step. And then once there's an OPM in place, then they take over a lot of the nuts and bolts scheduling. And again, the idea is we would be having these conversations. We'd go through a program review. Again, everything you just went through, we were going to go through those steps for the high school. So.
Yeah.
So when we did the OPM RFP, that had to be approved by MSBA, so I assume that step is removed. But I think, did we talk to them about like some sort of expedited process that wasn't quite as onerous? I thought there was an implication that there was a more a lighter route that we could go, but that maybe that's a conversation for the building committee.
Yeah, and I think we can ask MSBA. Most of their materials are online and accessible and available, and if they have 2 for us to choose from, I would just suggest that we choose one of their processes. And again, I'm not sure there are processes to choose from.
Well, what I'm referring to is we had to like go to the meeting and say this was our choice, and like, is this okay with you, et cetera. So we're not going to have any of that option, even if we wanted to. So like, we had to rank all of the certain things. They had to review that, then come back, and then the RFP went out. So we can save all of that time. But I didn't, we can talk with Doran Whittier if there's an even, like, we already went through this process within like 9 months ago, so.
And Nicole, I saw you shaking your head. Is there something more you can say about this?
No, I think pretty much what Dr. Conti said, that their templates for these things are readily available, so we won't have a problem sort of following their process without actually going through all of those other.
Yeah, but again, to Ms. Massardo's point, we don't need MSBA board approval. We don't have to wait for their board meeting. So it's, I think we can expedite some of it. But again, it still makes sense to use their templates is what I'm sort of promoting.
Okay. Any further comments or questions about I'm very excited, the BHS School Building Committee. I've been talking about that for a couple of years now. Okay, good. Yay. All right, now Pine Glen update. Is there any news that people they want to bring up?
Again, just the only thing is the Pine Glen, in one of the program documents you're getting, the Pine Glen program is included. So there'll be, again, a Pine Glen Fox Hill combined program document. So I think that would be the only thing Pine Glen related that on the agenda tonight.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. So it is 9:20, and everybody's had it.
Yeah.
So, can I ask a question?
Sure.
It's a first reading. We have the policy manual. So the topic is the policy manual. Sections E and F were on tonight's agenda. We have those documents. We have the documents that are the MASC templates. We have the ones that are with changes from our policy book, and we have comments from Dr. Conti's meetings with Ms. Presser about what is recommended. Do people feel like we could look at them and consider having a second reading next time if we all get to it? And if people feel that we haven't had a chance to, we can make next time the first reading. Are people willing to get to that, or is this time of year too busy for people?
I just think we should have the first reading here so that we can bring up any questions. we have.
So people want to bring up their first round of questions at the next meeting, we will just postpone it to the June 26th meeting,
Yes,
which
ma'am.
is a Monday. So I want to repeat that. Our next school committee meeting is on Monday, June 26th at 7 o'clock, which is unusual because we usually meet on Tuesdays. Is there any further business to come before the body tonight? Seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye. We are now adjourned.